You ever finally sit down, like really sit down, and that's the exact moment someone yells your name from the other room?
Oh, yeah, every time. It's like the universe knows. The second I get comfortable, someone needs a snack, the dog's barking, or my phone's ringing.
Exactly. And that's what this podcast is all about. Those little moments between chaos and calm, where you're just trying to breathe, but life keeps happening.
Welcome to I Just Sat Down, the podcast for moms, women, and multitaskers who do it all and somehow still manage to laugh about it.
I'm Desi, mom, entrepreneur, serial enthusiast, and fully committed to figuring it out as I go.
And I'm Crystal, multi-passionate entrepreneur, mom of chaos, coffee enthusiast, and believer that a good laugh can fix almost anything.
Every week, we're diving into the messy middle of life. Parenting, work, relationships, identity, all the real, unfiltered stuff that no one warned us about.
We'll share stories, a few hard truths, and definitely some laughs, because if we can't laugh through it, we might just cry instead.
So whether you're listening in the car, hiding in the bathroom, or actually lucky enough to sit down,
grab your coffee and let's get into it. Welcome to I Just Sat Down.
Welcome back to I Just Sat Down. Today, we are diving into a topic that usually sits right at the center of the mental load of motherhood, but often feels like the hardest to talk about: money. So between the cost of childcare, planning for the future, the trials of entrepreneurship, and trying to maintain our own identities and careers, the financial side of being a mom can feel like a secondary full-time job. That's why we are so thrilled to have today's guest sitting down with us, Miss Paula Wilimek. She is a powerhouse financial advisor for over 16 years. She specializes in helping women drop the guilt and shame around money. She is a wealth of knowledge, has led many financial workshops, a few of which I've personally attended, and she has helped women to grow their money with strategy and soul. She is a mama of two, a money mindset mentor, and a sweet friend of mine, and a truly rad human. So Paula, thank you for being here.
Yes,
We're so
problem. Best intro ever. I love that. Thank you, Crystal.
No problem. We're so excited to have you.
Morning. I'm so happy to be here. This was an easy thing for me to say yes to.
Perfect.
Anything for you guys.
I love that. So we have a million questions for you, obviously. I feel like I just want to kind of start at the beginning. And I don't even know if I've actually ever really asked you this, but how did this career come about? What made you kind of want to join the financial field? And then obviously what ultimately brought you to where you are now?
Okay, great question. I actually grew up in a house where my dad worked for London Life. So I never wanted to join this business. Of course. I was like, oh, that sounds terrible. But I was working in Toronto and came across somebody who was like, you should think about doing this. There aren't a lot of women doing this.
Right.
So I was intrigued because I really believe, and I'm sure we'll get into this, we as women do things with money differently, not worse or better. That's not the comparison I'm drawing, but I think that's what drew me into the business. I started 20 years ago. I know you're like, but you look so young.
You're so young.
Thanks. That's what drew me in. And I think what's kept me in the business is the fact that, there aren't a lot of female advisors. I mean, I think there's more now. And I'm like, yay, that's so great. Because I think, as I said, we just approach and do money differently and get such different narratives about money.
Yeah.
Right?
No, for sure. That's so true.
Mm-hmm.
So what was the draw for specific, because I know you work with some men too. I kind of think that comes as a parcel, right? Especially if you're working with women, most of the time they have a spouse. But what kind of drew you in? Was it only because there's not a lot of women in the industry, or was there something else specifically that has really kept you leaning into leading women with their money?
Such a good question. Okay. So I would say, of course, I have male clients that I love too. I'm not like, dude, please don't talk to me. No, I love all my clients. But I think what really started to light me up was watching women, I think, kind of give themselves permission to do good things with money rather than feeling like, and honestly, I hear this so often, and I would be interested to hear if both of you can relate to this, but women coming to me and saying, I know I should have done, or I know I should do. And I'm like, how would you know that? We literally, males, females, all of us, we all collectively missed the day that they taught money at school, right?
Yeah.
Like we've never literally known the sort of basics of money or been taught that. So how would we know? But I think the difference is women take that as something wrong with them personally, and I think then there's a lot of like guilt and the shame around it that they internalize, where I'm like, hey, this is just like you learning photography. You didn't go into your first shoot and go like, please, I got this, right? Like you recognize that there's going to be some time for you to like build these skills, but
Yeah.
for some reason, when I feel like it comes to money, we don't give ourselves that space or that grace, right? We just sort of go like, I should know this already. I'm supposedly an adult,
Right.
what's wrong with me, rather than, hey, how can I learn this?
Right.
So it was very long-winded to say, I think what really lights me up is watching women do that, because I think when they do, they give themselves this permission and then they act really quickly, right? When they
Yeah.
have they have that clarity around money, and then they have this confidence to go like, yeah, I'm going to do this.
No, I
I was
love
gonna
that.
say, let me light you up. It took me 40 years to figure out that
Right.
I had all this stale, like icky feelings around money for so long. And now at this point, I'm like, it's okay that I'm only just learning. I'm glad that I'm
100.
learning now that
Yes.
that I don't need to just like get 18 credit cards to pay off the other 18 credit cards. Right. And like
Yes.
I feel so free and the weight is off my shoulders now that I'm giving myself that grace that I have a past of not knowing and learning from my family that just like spent money and didn't teach, that now
Right.
I'm having to teach myself and teach my kids, and my husband's like, fuck, finally. Like
That's
let's get
awesome.
on
That's
it.
so amazing.
It's so true. I think, like, for me, like, I definitely missed the day of financial literacy in school. Absolutely. Missed the whole week, wasn't there? But I think, too, like, I don't think my mom didn't have a credit card until she was like well into her 30s. So when the credit cards start coming in at 18 through the mail, you're like, I got this.
Yeah, this is
I'm
amazing. Yeah.
responsible enough to handle this. No, the fuck I wasn't.
Yeah.
No.
But sometimes you just learn the hard way.
And then our
Yeah, and I
kids don't
think
have to.
Yeah.
100%. And I think, I mean, the credit cards come in, but the education around how they function doesn't. And that's
Right.
like by design, right? The financial
Yeah.
industry, and I would say as a whole, like credit cards, all the things are like, they know what they're doing. They know what they're keeping us in a cycle of,
Yeah.
but we're not quite, familiar with it. But as Desi said, like, you don't always have to feel like that, which I think is really, the empowerment that really is like, gets me excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's nice to see that in the schools now they are teaching more about the financial literacy at like grade 7, grade 8. They're doing budgets, and I don't remember any of that stuff when we were younger. It was more about like sin, cost, and tan, and what is that? All these
Yeah.
things that were like, I have no idea what any of this stuff meant back then, and now it's nice to see that although my son may have purchased $800 worth of craft dinner for the year in his budget, they're starting to learn it early, right? They're trying to figure it out,
Right. Yeah. I mean, just that education on how much craft dinner is great. Right?
Yeah, it's
That's true.
getting more
Yeah.
expensive too. Oh my God.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Groceries is that's a whole other podcast.
Yeah, absolutely it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So, what do you think are the most common misconceptions that women specifically make when it comes to their finances?
I mean, I think I've mentioned some of them, just the holding the shame around money, feeling like they need to have a certain amount before they do anything, quote unquote.
Okay.
Um,
That actually leads into another question that we had.
yeah.
So many moms consider career changes or starting businesses after having kids. What financial foundations should be in place before making a pivot to ensure the family's stability isn't compromised?
what misconceptions and like what?
Yeah, what misconception, but also
Yeah.
like I think people think like, oh, I can just start this business, and it's like, what should they actually have in place before that business will actually maybe be successful?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, when you're a mom and you're feeling like maybe you're behind because you stayed home for a year or whatever it is, because I know here in Canada, right, we have a year of maternity leave. Granted, when you're self-employed, you're not getting paid, but again, maybe that's
What a
another
joy.
podcast. Yeah. So you feel like you're behind income wise or whatever. Um, I think women are amazing in their ability to multitask and do things like that. Like they're like, well, I'll just pull money in this way, but look at it as a business rather than, oh, that's just something that I do on the side. Does that make
Side
sense?
hustle.
So like, right, side hustles are amazing, but also be like, okay, if I'm going to do the side hustle, how much does it need to bring in for me? And put numbers to that, right? Don't be afraid to do that. Because I think what we do is we say, again, like the shame and the guilt around money comes up. Am I being greedy? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I think just remove that and say, like, for this to work for my life right now, it needs to bring in X amount. Is that $500 a month? Is it $750? Whatever that looks like. And don't be afraid to do that, right? Really like ask money to work for you. Because if it's not doing that for you, then the time and effort that you're putting into it just doesn't make sense. And I think the difference there with men and women is that men would just say, this isn't working. F this, I'm going to go do something else. Whereas I think we make it mean something about us and our identity. Like I'm a failure or which is bullshit, right? And I want everyone to hear that collectively. Like if that's bullshit, that just didn't work for you. That doesn't mean anything about you. So to build on your question, because I think it's a really, really great one. So if you are looking at making a career shift or a pivot, good for you. But also be prepared for that pivot. So I actually do help people make that transition too. And it's really just guiding, right? So it might be like, hey, let's make sure you have an emergency or an FU account, I like to call it too, because how powerful is that? If you have an account that you can go, you know what? F this, I'm going to go do whatever I want to do, right? So what does that number look like? Is it a multiple of your expenses for 3 to 6 months? What does that look like? Is the first thing. So get clarity on what your life actually costs, before you go and make, a change. So I'd say that. So build an account, know what your expenses look like. So you know what the account sort of needs to be. So you're not freaking out as you're trying to build something.
Right.
That feeling sucks, right? When you're just like, oh my God, how am I going to do this financially? That doesn't lend itself well for you making creative, amazing decisions, in a new environment, right?
Yeah.
I think the hardest
having
thing
that security.
I think the hardest thing is like when you're saying to build that account is like, we're always going, well, how? Why? Like, what do you mean? We can just get money and put it in this account for rainy day or like the security funds or whatever, right? So it's hard on ourselves sometimes doing that whole like, well, how am I going to get that money and put it aside? Like, how am I going to get this FED account? And like, what if I need it in 3 weeks? How in 3 weeks am I going to, we put that's again with the pressure of not being prepared and just, like you said, with the side hustle, it's good to have a plan, but I think that comes along with like the business plan of life, right? Like if you want to have that account for sure, it's not just about being like, oh, I can see myself having $10,000 by next weekend. It's definitely about like, put the plan into play and don't be afraid of taking that jump into your creative joy right now.
100%. And I think where we get stuck is we want everything immediately. And I'm not faulting us, like that's how our entire culture is built right now, right? This is why Amazon is so amazing.
Yeah.
Right. But I think, you know what? Just have that working in the background for you, because how good does that feel to just be like, I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to need that for. Because I think that's sometimes the problem too, is we don't do it because it's fairly boring. We're kind of like, well, that's lame. And that's why I started calling it an FU account, because an emergency fund, who wants to save for an emergency?
Yeah.
Oh,
Like zero people. Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I don't want that to happen. So, I
Yeah.
think an FU account is much more empowering where you're like
Mhm.
flipping tables and saying, I can say FU to this job or this career because I know I have the security in the background. Like, think about how amazing
yeah.
that would feel knowing you have that
Yeah. And then, of course, your true joy
security.
comes to you because you don't have to do the things you don't want to do.
Exactly. Exactly. Right.
So, how can women shift their mindset to view money as a tool rather than a source of stress? Because I think more people live in money as more of a stressor than a tool, but it is a tool.
It is 100% a tool, as is credit is also a tool, you know? It's a really good question, Crystal. I would say you really have to be aware of how you're talking about and to money. And I know that sounds bizarre, but maybe not, because I like a little woo in here.
Yeah.
And I know you do too. Um, I would say be aware of the relationship you have with money. So are you coming from a place of scarcity all the time where you're like, ugh, we never have enough money. Ugh, I'm not good with money. Whatever that the mantra that you hear when you're sort of spiraling about things like that,
Mhm.
let's work on that.
Yeah.
And let's say, like, how can we switch that? Because whatever you're telling your brain is true,
Right.
just because the rest of the population or our culture doesn't function that way doesn't mean we're wrong.
Right.
Okay. So I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. So let's say, you came to me and you were like, ugh, I just never have enough money. Um, I might say, like, well, what if you reframe that to be like, I always have more than enough money? Like, that changes your whole perspective on how you're working, the energy you're bringing into working. You know what I mean? Like, that really is such a mindset shift. And yeah, I mean, maybe that's the key is just like looking at our mindset, being cognizant of it, and then rinse and repeat, right?
Yeah.
So it's a
Right.
process.
We love a beautiful money mindset. And I truly, truly believe that there's energy around money, and you
100%.
decide for yourself what kind of lifestyle you want to have whenever you're constantly putting either a positive or negative spin on that. So this is something as you're speaking, I'm like, oh, I love that this is just like a very similar mind, because it's just about, yeah, it's law of attraction, and it's very much about like the things that you want in life and don't want. Stop putting that shit out there.
100%. And, I really am a big believer that we create our own realities. I know some people take issue with that, but I think like, whatever our lives look like, sure, we have outside influences, but ultimately we made those decisions to have those people in our lives, whatever that is. But we get to choose, like I've been going through some hard shit. The last year and a half, I've been going through a separation, and I totally had to call myself on being like, I am wallowing in this, and I don't want to be this person. And I especially don't want to be this person for my kids, right? I have a 10 and a 12-year-old, and there's no way. I mean, like we all learned about money. It was by osmosis, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to be a victim, because then I'm also teaching them to blame things on other people rather than being like, well, no, of course we got this. Of course we can make the money we need to make. Because both are true. What reality do I want to live is essentially what I had to say to myself. And I get it. Sometimes that's easier to do than others, but it's such a powerful way to look at your life.
Yeah,
I
and
love that.
instilling those things in our kids too, right? I feel like I agree with you with how we speak around them, and sometimes we can be like, oh crap, bills, and bring up a negative and be like, oh, no, we can't go to the arcade and go out for dinner and go to the movies this weekend because I have bills specifically that need to be paid first. So it kind of brings a realistic light around it. But then also every time that I have an order come through, I'm like, I just went to a market, I just spent $300, and now I have an order for triple that because I'm spending the money in my community. And I tell them these things that I'm hoping they will believe as they get older, that every time I put money out in my community, it comes back tenfold. Every time that I, show that love and support to others, it comes back to me in a positive way. Right. So definitely big on the mindset and how we speak around our children, because that's how, our parents spoke around us a certain way. And that's why we have these fears and, things around money that we're like, oh, can't spend, got to save, got to pinch those pennies, even though we don't have pennies in Canada anymore. We're pinching them.
You're right. Yeah, I know. I love that. Oh, that's so amazing. I mean, yeah, just talking out loud to our kids is like a revolutionary act, because I think, like, I don't know about the two of you, but my dad was a financial advisor and, is also an uber positive person, but the education around money was also very lacking. Like, it was this taboo subject. So I think even just talking about it and saying that, like, Desi, that's amazing, right? Like,
Yeah.
look at how much money I made. Like, being positive around money is so, so, so like pivotal, I think, for our kiddos, for sure.
I think it's so hard. Like, it's just so touch and go on knowing like how much to share with children when it comes to finances and what to hide, basically, right? Because you don't want to parentify your children by giving them too much information about what you're stressing about. But at the same time, you want them to have that education and knowing, what money is and what money can do for you. And, at the ripe age of 12 and 14, I keep trying to get my kids on the entrepreneur train and being like, what can you put your Christmas money into that will make you more money in the long run? So we're always running.
I love that. I love that. And I think that's such an important thing for them to start thinking about. And, I love that you said that, like, what can I tell them and what can I not? But I feel like there's a big difference between you putting on them like, guys, I don't know how I'm going to pay my mortgage, versus this is how a mortgage works. And this is why mom needs to pay this right now, so that we're building this equity, or whatever that story is, rather than that like fear and scarcity that you're instilling. You're saying like, this is why we have this. And this is why mom is the financial badass, or, whatever.
Yeah, definitely changing the energy around that, instead of being like, oh my God, you guys are always asking for shit and I can't afford that. And no. Instead of, or just saying, hey, I got a bill coming up that right now, maybe we can't do that right now, but we'll plan for that.
Yes. Yeah. Like, sometimes I will say, if I'm paying bills, I'll say like, I'm so grateful that I can pay this bill, because it's going to come back to me threefold. Or I'll say like, because we have hot water, or because we have whatever. And the stores used to be so tough to take my kids out and be like, no, stop asking me for stuff, where I would be like, actually, we're not going to do that right now, because we're saving for a trip to wherever, or we're doing this thing. And they could typically go like, okay, yeah, I want that.
Yeah, you're picking and choosing. Do you want the crappy stuff now and not nice stuff later, or,
Exactly.
Yeah, so.
What would you say, Paula, that are your like top couple of things to teach kids about money and have them have that positivity around it? Like, are there specific things, or even maybe for a mom, like, what's the number one thing that you should do when you have kids?
Okay, so I think
you set them up financially. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I think being open with them is really key, and just being mindful of how you're talking about it.
Yeah.
Which I know is hard, but take a sec and just be like, okay, actually, guys. And sometimes I will do that. I'll be like, so how I was crazy earlier and I was kind of having a meltdown. Yeah, so this is how we do approach it, or whatever, just to sort of reset, because I think it's important for your kids to see you be human as well. But setting your kids up, that's such a great question. So many ways. I would absolutely, if you can, and I know this isn't a reality for everyone, but if you're getting the Canadian childcare benefit, to put a portion of, or the entire amount, into like an RESP for them, for education, for post-secondary, because you're getting the free grant money from the government, which we love free money, right? So 20% of that. But if you're like, okay, I don't want to put all of my proverbial eggs in that one education basket, I would also suggest maybe an interest investment for them. But I would also look into like some whole life insurance. So, and I don't want to get too technical because I don't want to lose listeners that they're like, and pause. But there's amazing ways that you can set kids up because my concern now is, long term, are our kids gonna have down payment amounts? Are they?
Right.
And so it just gives them that leg up because
Right.
it's an insurance policy, but it actually grows as if it's an investment. So they have a lump sum in the policy they can then take out later.
Interesting. Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's good.
yeah, there's some things you can investigate, and I think don't be afraid to ask some questions, work with someone that you really like and trust.
You can work with Paula.
That's not what I was saying, but and I think that's actually a misconception too, that you can't work with someone until you have a certain amount of money. And I'm like, no, don't wait, because waiting can be really expensive for you long term.
Yeah, for sure. I know for me, like I always, in a couple of the workshops that you've done, like when I can see the numbers like up there on the screen being like, hey, if this person invested this tiny little amount at 18 and now it's grown into this, it is definitely eye-opening. And I think people just, I know for me for years, I just kind of out of sight, out of mind. That was like how I ran my business. It was how my bank account just was like over there. It was in a different world. Like I was paying my bills and all that stuff, but it was just, it was just separate because I knew that there wasn't like this surplus of money in there. Right. So I just think I just kind of kept it out of my vision. And then it's not true. The debt's not there. It's whatever, right? But
that's disassociating with our finances.
It's really fun. It was a fun game that I liked to play in my 20s.
Fun game that I played. Well, I think what's interesting, I think too, when we're young, we feel like we have so much time, but I think we can flip it to be like, let's use this time. So if it's like $25 a month, honestly, like it doesn't need to be, I think in our 20s, we could say we could do $25 a month, right?
Yeah, easily.
Maybe. And then just slowly, incrementally increase that. Like that time that I too did not take advantage of, I wish I had back, because that's where money can be so, so powerful growing for us. And compound interest, as lame as it sounds, is really like, pause. Sorry, everyone. It's really like, a game changer for us long term.
Absolutely. I love it.
In your 20s, well, in my 20s anyways, like we didn't have a mortgage yet. We didn't have kids yet. We didn't have all the expenses. And I loved driving down to the Guess outlet every other day and spending money on clothes that do not fit me anymore. So in your 20s, invest that money a little bit, would you?
Yeah. Even a small amount that you're not going to see. It doesn't need to be a huge amount, right? Yeah. Just have it working in the background. You can still go to Guess. Well, I guess it wouldn't be Guess outlet anyway. Yeah, we're like, no.
We're like, nah, it's not the vibe anymore, Paula. Okay, so at the end of every episode, we do these rapid fire questions. Okay, so savings or investing?
Both.
No, you
They're
can't.
The same thing.
It's okay.
I can. It's the same thing in my mind. Like if a savings account is going to probably get you like 0.3%. So like, thanks. Investing. So I would say investing.
Okay, there we go. Best financial book. What's the one book that every mom should read?
Okay. Especially as entrepreneurs and moms, you need to read. Can I say two?
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it. Okay, so Amanda Francis's
Rich AF.
Yes.
The book that got it all started. Yep.
Yes. So you read it? Okay.
Yes.
Chef's kiss, right? So good.
So good.
And I would also say Denise Duffield Thomas, or Denise DT's.
Denise
Duffield Thomas. Is it Get Rich Lucky Bitch?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Love it.
Thank you, Desi.
Mine was Amanda
for sure.
Francis, Rich AF, and hers is Get Rich Like a Bitch. That's so funny.
How crazy is that those are the two books that you picked? I love that.
Yeah.
Yes, me too.
What was your first job?
Oh, my first job? I think it might have been working at Canada's Wonderland.
Oh, that's so fun. I love that for you.
It was fun.
Mm-hmm. Where in Canada's Wonderland did you work?
I worked in Merck's.
Okay.
So in one of the stores along like the main strip.
Love that. I worked at Pizza for 5 minutes and quit.
Did you? You were like,
Canada's Wonderland? Yeah. $5 a slice. Yeah.
Mine was McDonald's. Shout out McDick's. Where is your weakness for impulse buys? Is it Amazon? Because you already said that.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I feel like that's for a lot of people right now.
Right? It's so easy.
Because we don't leave our house.
Yeah. And because it's freezing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a little bit. Dream vacation.
Ooh. I would say somewhere in like Bali.
Mm.
Yeah. You know where they have those huts that are in the water?
Yeah.
Onto that.
Love that. I love that. That's Dave's too. You guys could go together.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There you go.
Maybe not. That'd be weird.
You would love it. So a budgeting app or pen and paper?
Oof. You know what? I'm gonna have to say pen and paper.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I agreed. What's one money habit everyone should have?
Automating their savings.
Oh, just putting money into the account.
Don't see it. You don't have to do it. It's just happening in the background for you.
I think for TV, every time I use my card, it automatically moves money over.
Oh, so you have a rule set?
Yeah. It's not a lot. It's 50 cents, I think. But every time I make a transaction, it just moves it over there.
Yeah. I know some accounts do that where you can set a rule. Like if my favorite sports team wins, if I'm
that's fun.
Purchasing something, I round it up to the next dollar. It's really powerful.
Yeah, because it's just you don't even notice. Who notices 50 cents? You just don't.
No one.
Right? Best place to start when you feel financially overwhelmed.
Great question. I would say deep breaths and then save yourself $1,000. And get to it as quickly as humanly possible. So if you have to sell stuff, if you have to do whatever that looks like before you start doing things like aggressively paying down debt or anything, have that $1,000 cash cushion, because what it will do, even though it is, quote unquote, only $1,000, is it will still stop the debt cycle from still happening. If you're feeling like, I don't know what to do with that, and then you can get a plan in place because, no 2 months are the same. So if you have that $1,000, you can use that for things or, just sort of stop that sort of overwhelm with feeling like this is just all chaotic.
I love that. If you could just give, one piece of financial advice to every single mom, what would it be?
You can do this.
Yeah.
And don't let anyone, especially any white men, tell you any different. That would be the biggest thing is this is like anything. You can learn how to do things and not walking in knowing it all. That doesn't mean shit about who you are.
Right. This was so good. Thank you so much. I wish we had literally another hour because I have 1,000 more questions to ask and I know Desi does too. But we have 2 minutes left, so we are going to wrap it up here.
Amazing.
But honestly, thank you so much. So
yes, thank you.
This has been
you're so welcome.
An absolute masterclass for us. We just love it. I think that you've given us all permission to stop looking at our bank accounts with dread and start looking at them as a tool for the life that we actually want to live. So before we let you go, where can our listeners find you, follow your work, and perhaps get a bit of that strategic magic for their own families?
I show up on Instagram probably the most at Paula_Wilimek, financial advisor. If you get to Wilimek, you will find me. Also, I have giant curly hair. So you'll see me there. Or my website at wilimekfinancial.com. But can I just say one thing about you, Crystal? Because I have witnessed your sort of, it's going to be so cheesy, but like evolution or your metamorphosis from watching you, be worried about growing your business to a point that you'd have to pay higher taxes to now talking about, your mindset and your abundance. And it's just so inspiring to see. So you should celebrate that because that's awesome.
Thank you. Yes. Paula has seen me cry over money.
I mean, I see a lot of people cry.
Yeah.
I feel like part of the job.
It is. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you. And honestly, it's because of you. It's a lot because of you, just opening my mind to all of that. So anyway, thank you guys for tuning in.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. It was great. You guys did a great job.
Oh, you did a great job. Thank you. So we will see you guys next week. Alrighty. Bye.
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 Well, that went by fast. Kind of like every quiet moment we try to have in real life.
Right? I swear I just sat down and now it's already time to get back up again.
Story of our lives. But before we head back into the chaos, thank you so much for hanging out with us today.
We hope this episode made you laugh, think, or at least reminded you that you're not the only one trying to hold it all together.
Because none of us really have it figured out. We're all just doing our best. One cup of coffee and one deep breath at a time.
If you enjoyed this episode, hit that follow or subscribe button so you never miss when we finally get to sit down again.
And share it with a friend who could use a little reminder that it's okay to take a break, because she deserves it too.
You can find us over on Instagram and TikTok at ijustsatdown.podcast. We love hearing from you, your stories, your wins, and even your "you won't believe what happened to me today" moments.
Next week, we're diving into the Big Feelings Toolkit.
It's going to be a good one, so get comfy because by the time you finally sit down, we'll be right here with you.